Hello everyone, I'm Julia, and today I would like to talk about how you can derive trig functions using the chain rule. So I would first like to provide some examples, but before I get into anything, I would like to explain to you guys what the chain rule is in case you don't know or you've forgotten. So if we were trying to find the derivative of f of gx, so the derivative of this, then what we would do is first take the derivative of the outside, which is the f, so take the derivative of the f, and then just leave the inside, so just leave the gx like it was before, and then multiply this by the derivative of the inside now, and the inside is gx, so the derivative of gx is just g prime x. So this is what the chain rule is, and I'll just leave this here for now so you guys can look at it. So now for my example, if we had the function tangent squared of negative cosine of 6x, what we would first do to find the derivative of this function is bring down the 2 and subtract the 2 by 1, because that's how you take the derivative of something. So 2 comes in the front, so 2 times tangent, and there's a 1 here, but there's no point of really writing that, and leave the rest of the things alone, and then multiply this by the derivative of the tangent, because we didn't do that yet. So the power comes first, and then the next one. So the derivative of the tangent is secant squared times, leave everything alone again, and so negative cosine of 6x. Then multiply that by the derivative of the negative cosine, which is sine of 6x, because we just leave the 6x alone. Then finally multiply this by 6 using chain rule, since the derivative of 6x is equal to 6. And so now we have this function here, but we can kind of simplify it more by bringing the 6 in the front, but I think you get the point. So that would be the answer for the derivative of this function. And now I would like to do another example. Okay, now we have the function 2 times sine and 2 times sine of tangent squared of cosine of 4x. So now this is going to be kind of a long one, since we're going to have to use the chain rule 3 times, I think. So if we take the derivative now, we would first do the sine, and the 2 can just stay. So 2 times the derivative of the sine, which is cosine, and times and of the, this just stays the same, tangent squared of cosine of 4x 4x. So now we would have to take the derivative of the inside, which is tangent squared. So the 2 comes down first, and then we would take the derivative of the tangent. So tangent, 2 times tangent of cosine of 4x, and then we can take the derivative of the tangent, which is secant squared, and just leave this alone, so cosine 4x, and we have run out of space, so I'll just continue in the next on the bottom. So this times, I'm writing on the bottom, so I'll just do this. So secant squared this times the derivative of the cosine, which is negative sine of 4x, and then multiply this by 4 again using chain rule, since the derivative of the 4x is just 4. And now we found it, and you can leave it like this, but I would just simplify it more by multiplying the 4 here and the negative in front of the sine, and the 2 in front of the cosine, in front of the tangent. So if I do that, we can simplify it more, so it looks like this. So 4 times 2 times, well, the negative goes in the front, and then 4 times 2 times 2 is 16, so negative 16, and we just write the rest of the things. So negative 16 times cosine of tangent squared of cosine of 4x. Then multiply this by 2 times, we already multiplied the 2 in the front, so there's no need to write the 2 here. So multiply this by just tangent of cosine of 4x times secant squared of cosine 4x times sine, the negative disappears too since we put it in the front, times sine of 4x, and the 4 is just in the front too. So now we got the answer for the derivative of this function now. And now for our last example, I would like to also use the product rule. So now I'll actually kind of erase this so we have more space. So now for this example, of course we're going to have the product rule. So if we have the function 2 times tangent or cosine to the power of 3 of, or let's do 4 of sine of 4x, and if we were multiplying this with, actually I'll just erase the 2 in the front and multiply this by 2x, and so now we'll have to use the product rule to find the derivative of this function. Now I would also like to just explain what the product rule is. So the product rule is used when you are multiplying two things together, like f and g. Then we would just write the derivative of one of these. So I'll choose the f first. So the derivative of f and times the other one, and add this with the derivative of the one that you didn't take the derivative already. So that will be the g. So g prime times the other one, which is just f. So this is a product rule, and we're going to use the product rule to solve for the derivative of this function. So if I just choose to derive this part of the function first, we would have to use the chain rule, of course. So the 4 comes down, 4 cosine, and 4 minus 1 is 3, so to the power of 3. And of everything stays the same, then times using chain rule, the derivative of the cosine, which is negative sine, and of the rest, which is the sine of 4x, and then multiply this again by the derivative of the sine because we're using chain rule, so times the cosine of the 4x stays the same, and then multiply this by 4 because we use the chain rule, and the derivative of the 4x is just 4. And then since we just did the derivative of the first part, we're just gonna have to multiply all of this by just the 2x here. So we're not going to derive the 2x, we're just going to multiply it with the derivative the first part. And then we're going to add all of this with, I'm just going to erase this part. We're going to add all of this with the derivative of the other part now, which is 2, and multiply this with just this part of the function. So we're not going to derive it or anything, so it's cosine to the power 4 of sine of 4x. Now this would be your answer, and you can simplify it more, but that's a lot of hard work. But of course I'll still do that for you guys. So to simplify this first part, I would actually like to bring multiply 2x to the front. So we're going to multiply the 2x, the 4 here, the negative sign here, with the 4 in the front. So we would get 2 times 4, well, the negative first goes first, and then so 2 times 4, which is 8, times 4 again, which is 32, and don't forget about the x, so negative 32x times the rest of the things without all the ones that we multiplied already. So negative 32x times cosine cube of sine 4x times just the sine of sine 4x times the cosine 4x. Now we're going to add all of these with these. So there's not much to simplify, but we'll just connect these two. So that will make a 2 times cosine to the power 4 of sine of 4x. So this would be our final answer. So I hope everyone learned something from watching this video, and I also hope that everyone enjoyed watching this video. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.